There was a mod developer that was so good at what he did that Mojang hired him. Today we're going to find out who that was and the story behind it, and this video was by Skyboy.
What if I told you this and this were created by the same person? In 2009, King B-Dogs, whose real name is Brandon, stumbled across Minecraft for the first time.
King B-Dogs? Wait, I follow this guy on Twitter. There's no way he's the guy behind what the Aether mod is, really?
In his eyes, you'd have to be a genius to code something like this.
You'd have to be a genius to code something like this.
Brandon promptly forgot it looked difficult and became a mod developer. For his first mod, he picked something pretty simple, and it is the most 2010 thing I've heard in my entire life. Are you ready?
What was his mod?
Dropped 9,000 diamonds on death, and
I've done the same. I've made a mod before that was very simple like this.
Crashes your game each time.
Crashes your game each time. Okay, that was very 2020. I did a mod that allowed you to break bedrock. That was all. I just wanted to learn how mod development worked, and I actually used it for a video. I had to code my own mod because nobody else had done it. Anyway, back to the video.
Later, Brandon begins work on the first mod he plans to actually release. It's really interesting going back and looking at this because it's such a product of its time. Instead of using Discord, he uses IRC chat rooms, and instead of using
IRC chat, most of you won't remember IRC. I remember IRC chat. Very, very cool indeed.
Forge or Fabric, he uses this thing called Mod Loader. Anyway, the mod added things like obsidian
this is an OG.
friendly creepers, and custom swords, and it was creatively named after himself, calling it King's Mods. Overall, it had a pretty adventure-y feel, which we'll see expanded on in the future. This mod was actually pretty revolutionary for its time. Since there were so few mods, it was one of the only ones adding anything substantial, but it was nothing compared to what comes next. Bacon blocks, adding raw and cooked blocks of...
Sorry, that one. That's the best one.
The idea for the mod was originally inspired by...
I don't know. Is it the Aether? The Aether? I guess we're going to roll with the Aether.
A forum user named Grey Acumen who talked about wanting a dimension opposite of Minecraft's Nether. Brandon liked this idea a lot, and shortly after, he announced the Aether mod. The announcement teases all of these features.
Ah, that's why it's... Oh, because it's Nether, Aether. They're spelt the same, but they're the opposites.
Managed to code in literally under a week. By this point, it was
under a week?
Everyone that Brandon had a natural talent for code. Over time, he hired a few of his modder friends to help him with the project, and just 138 days
he hired people to do this,
which is like 1.5 days videos, the team released the first ever version.
I'm sorry. You're going to put Cookie God's face instead of SB's. I'm the one who does all the 100-day stuff. He doesn't do that much. He's just hardcore. Anyway,
of the Aether. The mod added a new dimension, also called the Aether, inspired by Brandon's perception of what heaven would look like in Minecraft.
Floating islands?
Okay.
Giant flying attack clouds. Unique and deadly weapons.
Okay, what
okay, maybe that's
not heaven, that's for sure.
Despite, the discrepancies, for its time, it was pretty insane. I mean, it still even holds up today, if I'm being honest.
It is like an iconic
across the world, and each of them has super creative bosses that drop these exciting weapons.
I've never played it. I've never played the Aether mod. I've just realized I've never played. Maybe I should change that. Maybe I should play. Yeah, I've never done it. I've just realized it just hit me.
When you kill them, the mod revolutionized what was considered possible in Minecraft. Brandon also knew what people wanted. The end dimension didn't exist yet, so the demand for something like the Aether was incredibly high.
So this is pre-end as well, so it's like a cool new dimension.
The best mod, and that's reflected in the download count. 5 million.
That's insane.
Except I actually lied. What? Because it's 15 million. Modern mods obviously
that is
way
insane.
More, so let me put that number in perspective.
Awesome.
By the end of the mod's peak in 2012, Minecraft had only sold 15 million copies. And on top of that, the Cursed Forge page was created much more recently. I honestly think 15 million does not do this mod justice.
Yeah, because millions of people have downloaded it before the Cursed Forge page existed with that downloading.
A similar Minecraft thing from that time was Skyblock, which still has 4 million less than the Aether.
Wow,
the impact of the mod on the
more?
Minecraft community was wild.
There
were so many YouTubers hyping it up that this tutorial.
Why have I not played this then if it's so popular? I'm not one of those 15 million people that downloaded it.
Look at all the comments saying that when they were little they thought they could do it in vanilla. It's so cute.
Wait.
YouTubers hyping it up that this tutorial on how to build an Aether portal got 30 million views.
30 million views now to build an Aether portal, but it doesn't work in vanilla.
Look at all the comments saying that when they were little they thought they could do it in vanilla. It's so cute. With the Aether mod being so popular.
Hey, so me and my girls heard you made the Aether mod?
Sorry, as I was saying, with the Aether mod being
I wish I'd made the Aether mod, yeah.
Brandon created his own YouTube channel to document his other projects. And one of these projects was a mod called the Aether 2. The new version
Aether
had
2.
more biomes, a stats system, and multiplayer
He
compatibility,
made the Aether
which is
2?
something players had been wanting for a while. The new mod was released only 2 years after the first one, but it
Wow.
didn't do nearly as well. In my personal experience with it, it was a bit confusing, and it feels too different from the first one. This is not an Aether portal. Who are you? So I just
Did
found
they
myself
did he
going back
overdo
to
it?
the original when I wanted to
Interesting.
replay it a few years ago. Despite the sequel doing a little bit worse than the original, the Aether is still one of the most recognizable
5 million downloads is
mods
still
of
pretty
all
awesome.
time. But Brandon was getting tired of just making Aethers over and over again, and he needed to
Yeah,
think
where's
outside
Aether
the
3?
box. He needed to create something new that's even more revolutionary than the Aether itself. Unless you've been on a modding team before, you've probably never heard of it, but Orbis introduced a new game mode called Designer. It's a little like World Edit, letting you make big changes to huge areas of blocks really quickly. The difference here is it also has procedural terrain generation. And I understand
The thing is, I've heard of there's like a new editor, but I don't think it's this. I don't think it's Orbis.
some people aren't as smart as me, so that's for biomes or giant structures or whatever. In the past, a programmer would have to spend a lot of time implementing a builder's vision to actually be able to use it. But with Orbis, builders could export it in a format that could be used right away. This helped to
That's
lower
cool.
the barrier of entry for making massive content mods like the Aether, and it had a huge
you could just get a
impact
builder
on the
to send
modding
it straight away. That's
industry.
cool.
Or that's what I would have said had it not been released in 2018. See, while the project was started in 2014, it took 4 years to make, and by that point there were already plenty of solutions for working with builders. It looks like they didn't bother finishing it or even maintaining it at all. It was really technically impressive, but it only has about 19,000 downloads today.
Just didn't
By
make
this
the
point,
cut.
Brandon had proven he was capable of making his crazy ideas actually happen, so when he applied to work at Mojang, he was obviously denied. That's right, the first
No
time
way.
he applied, it was for a senior position he wasn't nearly qualified for.
I went too much.
Because that was the only position I saw at the time, and I was kind of desperate to try and break in.
Luckily, he saw a tweet about a new game developer position opening up, and he leaped at the opportunity. He'd already updated his CV recently, which is a bit like a resume, but even so,
Yeah,
he didn't
he's
think
very
he'd be
talented.
accepted. To Brandon's disbelief, however, he did hear back and got constant calls and interviews from the Mojang office. It must have been a pretty surreal experience for him.
I mean, come on, this guy made one of the most popular mods of all time. You've got to want him working on the game.
He'd loved the game for nearly a decade at this point. However, it wasn't looking super promising. No job had been offered. That wasn't until finally he received word that they were interested, but they had to meet him in person. So, in a last-ditch attempt to snag the position, he flew all the way from Australia to
Wow.
Minecon 2019 in Nashville. His first impression would have to be perfect, but it just might work. And his prayers were answered in December of 2019 when he was
When am I gonna get on
finally
Minecon?
offered a job. He moved to Sweden a month later to join the team in
Whoa, he
earnest.
moved
Since
to
Brandon
Sweden
was
to
the new
work.
guy, he
That's
was
cool.
pretty eager to please.
All right, who wants to code this one?
Not it.
I'll do it.
Really?
Some of the other developers even had doubts on if the Strider was a good idea. I mean, it's pretty different from other mobs, and there was a real risk
He
the
smashed
community
it.
would hate it.
He
Brandon
smashed
took
it.
it as a challenge, though, and spent hours creating what he believed to be the perfect take on it. And looking back, like, he kind of succeeded. He
Yeah,
made the
yeah.
Strider cute and vanilla enough to where it was a pretty well-liked addition to the game. He also developed
I have no problems with Stride. I think they're a cute little, I think they're a cute, cool addition. So you know what, he smashed it in that
Full
regard.
speed enchantment, which was controversial at first since it reduced armor durability. Many players thought it might not even be worth using, but when the update finally released, it became an enchantment players wouldn't traverse the nether without.
Yeah,
Through
so
working on these
useless,
more
though.
controversial features, Brandon learned how the Minecraft community worked and what they would and wouldn't accept. Because of his ability to handle controversy, he's kind of become the face of new cutting-edge Minecraft features. His Twitter is the community's main source for teasers and
That's
leaks
true.
of new
He's
updates.
always
Look at this leak
posting
Mojang
content.
doesn't want you to know about.
Dude, nobody believes you.
This would carry over to his YouTube channel where he'd post a new video. This time, it was a teaser for a new boss he'd been working on. The Warden. That's right, Brandon created the Warden and a
Wow.
big chunk of the Deep Dark in general.
The
which
Warden's
went on to be
such an
one of
epic
the
mod.
most highly regarded updates ever. And then fast forward to now, do the upcoming features not scream Aether mod to you? Brandon's influence is obvious. Minecraft is adding a new dungeon structure with dozens of block variants, procedural generation, and a new mini-boss, which just so happens to be air themed. Also included in the update is an auto-crafting block, which is very clearly inspired by the modded content from Ender.io or similar mods, which Brandon was intimately aware of. I think, like, genuinely,
That's
in
cool.
the time he's worked at Mojang and
He
like
has
leading
probably
up to
helped
it, he is
the updates a lot.
second most important person in Minecraft history, coming only behind Notch himself.
You'd put him that high?
This man created the
That's
Aether,
true.
a tool that could have revolutionized mod development.
just couldn't finish it in
Strider,
time.
Soul Speed, and the f***ing Warden. Oh yeah, and did I mention that he's an organizer for a Minecraft event that's raised $220,000 for 5?
Wait, what does
Yeah,
he-
did
what
I
does
mention
he-
that he's an organizer
Oh,
for a
minigame. I don't know
Minecraft
what it
event
is.
that's raised $220,000 for 5
We
different
love chocolate.
charities?
That's cool.
This guy is insane. He also played Hermitcraft with Brian for a day. Okay, this is the end of the video. Normally I'd ask you to subscribe.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I'm already subscribed to Skyboy, but yeah, that was a cool video. Very interested to learn about how good that developer is, the man that made the Aether.